we're going to go ahead and take apart an ATV. Now this ATV belongs to a friend of a relative. He actually is having me work on two of them at the same time. Here they are. They're nearly identical. One's a 2005 and one's a 2006. Not sure which is which. I'd have to look closer, but that doesn't really matter. They are practically the same thing, just a year different. So we're going to be working on this one. I've already got that one running, but we're going to tear into it and see what's wrong. So when you're diagnosing a Nostart, just do the following. Turn the key and see if it lights up. I'm getting some lights here, so that looks pretty normal. Make sure it's on run, in neutral. Press the start button and see what happens. Okay. The choke was on. Let's try it without the choke. Nothing. Should we try to give it some gas? Alright, still nothing. The engine is turning over. You can hear it going, but there's no ignition of the fuel. And so the engine is not starting. Let's go ahead and turn that off. So now, could be spark, could be fuel. These are relatively new, so good chance that they have compression. There's a good chance that there's nothing clogging up the air filter or anything like that too much. You know, there's probably a little bit of dirt on the filter, but nothing to keep it from starting. The first thing I always do is check the fuel. Does the fuel smell good, like normal gasoline, or does it smell like varnish? So let's go ahead and check that. It doesn't smell brand new, but it doesn't smell like varnish. Exactly. So, it's kind of in between there. Most of the time, what happens is in the carburetor, the gas will sit in there and it'll evaporate out back through the air intake, and the sediment from the gas will stay in the bowl, and the vapors will come out, and the sediment will smell like the varnish that I'm talking about. It's kind of it's a really strong chemical smell. It kind of leaves a taste in your mouth. It doesn't smell like fresh gasoline. So if you smell that, you know you've got sediment in your carburetor. We'll start with the seat. Comes off really easy. Just a little latch there. Take off this side. We'll take off the other side panel on the right side of the engine. Take off the airbox lid. While we're here, we'll take off the air cleaner. I'm already starting to smell the varnish. Anyways, air cleaner. We'll clean this, re-oil it, and reinstall it. Gas tank cover. Disconnect that. Take the shifter knob off. Now we'll take the gas tank off. Put the lid back on the gas tank, keep it from spilling. Always a good idea to disconnect the battery. All you gotta do is the negative terminal. Put that screw back in. 2 bolts that hold the shifter on near the gas tank. This will make it fold out of the way. And there you go. Just replace these screws. As you can see, we have the petcock, which is at the bottom of the tank, and the hose that leads to the carburetor. So we'll disconnect the hose, grab and twist, and it should come off. Now there's a vacuum line on the back here. What it does, when you start cranking over, or while the engine is running, that vacuum is pulling, and it allows this valve to open up and let gas out of the tank into the carburetor. We'll remove that vacuum line. And now the gas tank is ready to come out. We'll go ahead and empty this gas tank while we're doing other things. It'll take a while, so what you do is you set the petcock to prime, and it'll just sit there and drain. So I can smell the pungent smell of varnish coming out of this ATV. So, pretty good chance the carburetor is clogged up. So, let's get the carburetor free. So on this side, the throttle cable is connected, and on the other side, the choke is connected. So let's start with the throttle cable. It looks more difficult than it is. It's just one screw and a little nut. I'll just unwrap the cable and bring it down to the groove, and you might need a little help with a screwdriver to pry that out. Now let's loosen it up. It'll make it easier to get to the choke. Okay, so there's just 2 screws holding the carburetor on. There's one right there that's holding it onto the airbox tube, and one right here that holds it onto the intake runner. Alright, so push the airbox tube out of the way and start pushing on the carburetor to get it out of the intake runner. It's out now. This is the choke cable, and it's got a hex head here that's 14mm. Can you see that? The hex head there. These seemed to work really well last time, so let's try it again. This is working. Just work slow at it. Now this hex end is just plastic, so you don't have to crank on it when you put it back together. And that's what it looks like. You can set the throttle to be however high you want it to be while idling. So that's that right there. Now it's loose. Grab and twist. There we go. Should be loose now. Sometimes a screwdriver helps. There we go. And there's that. Let's get it on the bench top and tear it down. So let's go over a few things that will come in handy while tearing down your carburetor. We've got a little bit of gasoline. I like to put a little bit in a bowl, glass bowl, so that it doesn't melt if it's plastic. And a lid, in case something goes wrong, you can just close that. Another chemical, carburetor cleaner. Love this stuff. Super good on the ethanol, cleaning ethanol gas crud out of your intake in your car and also in your carburetor jets. Very thin wire. This is 28 gauge. That'll come in handy when cleaning out little crevices and holes and jets. Inside there, wrenches that you might need. I got an 8mm, I believe. That's for the biggest jet. Something pokey to kind of scrape. Toothbrush, great for scrubbing the outsides, getting all this dirt and crud off. And compressed air. That'll help get all that crud out of there with the carburetor cleaner. So there's probably still gas in here. There it is. You can either tip it upside down like that or open up this valve here on the bottom. There it goes. Always open up the parts of the carburetor that you don't want to get wet with carburetor cleaner. Always get those things out of the way first so they don't become saturated with carburetor cleaner and then become deformed. So there is a diaphragm inside of here. Don't want to get that soaked with carburetor cleaner or it'll deform it. Okay, so this is the diaphragm. Ooh, I think we see what's going on there. Look how green and gross that is. Just soak the rag in a little bit of carburetor cleaner. If you are reusing these parts, you can just do this. If you bought a kit like I did, then this part will actually be replaced. Okay, clean, almost like new. We'll set this aside. Now there's one more diaphragm type thing. It's got another heavy duty spring inside there. So just be careful while taking it off that it doesn't pop out and fly at you or across the room and you lose it. That's a lot of force there. Here's our second diaphragm, and it should pull straight out like this. And wipe it off, set it aside. Now it's ready to get wet. with carburetor cleaner. So here's the top. That is the airbox side, and this is the intake runner side. So when you push on the throttle, that opens up. Inside the bowl here, so to keep from stripping these screws, you put a lot of downward pressure as you're twisting. Once you hear that click, that means you've broken that screw loose, and it's ready to just spin loose. As a reference, this is what comes in your carburetor rebuild kit. You got a new gasket for the bowl, some springs, this brass little spacer, more springs, an itty bitty O-ring and a washer in there. This is your mixture screw. I couldn't find that anywhere, so it generally comes with everything you need for any variation of the carburetor. So a lot of times you don't end up using half of what they give you. But you've got two jets here, one's a 122 and one's a 55. So the 122 is the bigger hole, 55 is the smaller hole. Trust me, it says 55 on there. Float valve. I already replaced that. There you are. Now you open up the bowl. Go ahead and take out the float. Just slides right out. Go ahead and stick that in there. Float and the float valve. And here you have all the jets. And you have different jets for different speeds. So one's your idle jet, other's your open throttle jet, and somewhere in between probably there's three that I can see. One down inside here, this tall one, which is the larger opening 122, and here's the 55. This is where the fuel comes into the bowl. Through here, into there. So remember which one is which. They're both the same size threads, so they could be interchanged, but it would be bad if you switch those. And then this guy is hiding down inside that hole. Here's my replacement. It is a 38. Downward pressure, twist, click. Put it upside down and it pops right out. Put the 8mm on there. Screw on there. Hold it tight as you undo it. This is not replaced in the kit. Don't lose this. You have to reuse that. Stick it in the gasoline. Let it soak. Alright, down inside there is a spacer. It's not coming out yet, so we'll move on to the next one. While we let that carburetor cleaner soak in there. Click. So you're supposed to be able to see right through this hole. It is completely clogged. See how you can't see any light through there? Completely clogged. That is why it's not starting. If we're keeping that, clean it out with the wire, poke it with your pokey, Clean it out real good. That's everything you gotta pull apart. Now it's just a matter of scrubbing, spraying. That's it.
I'm staring through your window, looking up at the stars, up at the stars. I'm caught inside a loop where I can get to your heart, get to your heart. Ooh, you're letting your fears take hold, let them take control, and it's making me crazy. If you could only look at me, you know how I feel, know how I feel. Oh, see how much I want it, see how bad I need it. You gotta look into my eyes. That's how much I want it, that's how bad I need it. You gotta look into my eyes.
Okay, so there you go. Carburetor's all put back together. Now it's ready to go back in. Installation is opposite of taking it apart, so let's get started.
2 a.m. in the car playing our favorite song. Turn it up, windows down, we sing along. The summer night has just begun. The moon is bright, let's have some fun. Oh, this is everything, with you right next to me. So alive, and tonight I'm thinking that I don't wanna go. Calling sick in the morning, baby don't leave.
Alright, so adjust it so the cable isn't too tight, that it's off of this screw here. This screw is adjusted on the other side. If you adjust it in, it makes the throttle higher, and that's the base idle throttle. So if you adjust it out, it brings it down, lowers the throttle for a lower idle. So I just left it where it was. I haven't adjusted the idle at all, but I adjusted the cable so that it's not too loose, so that when you push on the thumb throttle, it reacts immediately.
They don't need to know we're out here wild and free. They say we're crazy, it's too much. And yeah, we're crazy, deep in love. Oh, this is everything, with you right next to me. So alive, and tonight I'm...
So now, before we put the sides back on the covers, let's test it out. I'm going to put a little bit of gas in the tank until it starts to spill out the bottom. We'll tighten that up so it stops spilling, and then we'll try and start it. Okay. On, choke, run, start. First try. Much closer to that. Good throttle response. It's running great now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe. If you like this video, you know what to do. And I appreciate you guys so much. I just want to give you guys a big shout out. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. I've always been able to make it home, and so it feels pressure and stop. So there's not enough fuel and it can't start. So the gas and the fuel lines there. Quit licking me. Oops. Miles, that's not bad.
Look at my face. How do you feel after that?